let's try this again. Okay, I got kicked off for trying to record. It's June 23rd, 2023, approximately 6:30. I was trying to show you some pictures of some video of the mountains and the water, but when I picked up the phone and turned it, I got kicked. My fingers kicked it. Anyways, I had a decent day today. Drove up north, went to the gun range, looked at some new handguns. Not sure what I'm gonna get yet. Went to a vegan restaurant. Amazing food. Terrible service. It was like, maybe I went to Dick's Last Resort vegan restaurant. That's what it felt like. Then I walked around the city. I won't say where. Didn't care for the city. A little dirty, a little scummy. But I got some raspberry sorbet, which was nice. Can I tell you, people are like, oh, you're only vegan to try to get laid. Trust me, it does not work. I'm a bearded. It's such a double-edged sword for me because people hear vegan or women hear vegan and they're like, oh, he's a lefty, and I was like, no. And then the women on the right, or the libertarian women, are like, oh, great. And then they hear vegan and they hate veganism. So I'm stuck in the middle with a bunch of clowns. Doesn't matter. Anyways, I digress. I was talking to a young lady while I was eating my ice cream, and that's what made me think about this. And I thought I could give some wisdom to the youths today to listen to about life, because although things change, they stay the same. I remember when I was young, there was so much pressure to figure out a career path, and it's not how life works. It just reminds me how, like, you go to a government school and they show you evolution, and it's like a straight line. It's like, no, evolution is not a straight line. It branches in many directions, and that's how your life's going to be. You don't need to find one job that you're going to stick to forever, or one career path. Some people do. Some people find one job that they love, a passion that makes them money at day one, and shoot for the moon, and they go the whole way. But I think those types of individuals are rare in the fact that, and it'll probably become less rare in the homeschool community, but if you let children focus on what they love, they can figure it out. This idea of, like, oh, taste every sample at the store and then figure it out what's the best. It's like, yeah, like chocolate tastes good, vanilla tastes good, strawberry tastes good. It all tastes good, and you get really caught up in the weeds of choice. Whereas if you kind of just let somebody fixate on something and obsess on something and get skillful and better at it, the happiness and excitement that comes with that will push you forward. There's no way that I could have predicted. I'm in my late 40s now. I just turned 48 last March 2023. And if you could have told me that I was going to just I was going to go my whole life puttering around from job to job, getting all these skills. And it wasn't really that. Like when I was young, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Had personal things come up in my life. I was working at a warehouse. I was doing construction. And I just didn't really like anything. So my personal life was the really big draw for me. So I would just make money so that I could just go out and party and drink and, you know, everything that comes with that's stupid. Luckily for me, I never did drugs, with the exception of getting hooked on nicotine and drinking, but I never did any hard drugs. But then I kind of needed more work, and I was an adult, and I ended up in real estate on and off. And then I just became good at real estate inspections, and I was making decent money, and I like that I can drive around and see the country and set my own schedule. I could do, in the summertime, I could do my, you know, I could work one day a week from sun up to sunset, and then take most of the rest of the week off and get all my work done, and then just wake up in the morning and data entry. So I liked the freedom that it gave me, but the job was just taking pictures of houses and being meticulous, which is kind of what I'm good at. And I fell into that. I called for a job, it was good, then I ran into somebody else and they gave me more and I needed more money, so I branched out. But I mean, I've done construction, real estate insurance. I branched two businesses off of the insurance. The pandemic hits, I started an online business, and I've been making decent money. Anybody would have been really happy to make what I was making, well more than the average person running the insurance business. But now I just stumbled into a business that just produces so much money with minimal effort, that gives me the benefit to invest in projects that I like and get more into DeFi and crypto, have so much more free time to really explore. And now that I'm out and about and I'm talking to people, I was thinking back at when talking to this young lady. So she was skateboarding, and she had like jeans on, a baggy shirt, baseball cap on backwards, her hair in braids. She was eating some ice cream, and we just kind of talking, and she just brings up that she's non-binary, which it's just like, you know, online they're like, oh, why are you guys so stressed out about LGBTQ and whatever? This place is in, you know, a purple area, but a blue enclave city, and every other store's got a pride flag and says pride on it. And it's like, it's strange to me, because you're like, treat everybody as an individual, but when they do that, they're basically saying, you know, it's people telling you that the way that they have intercourse, you know. So the word gay used to mean happy back in like the 70s, and now it means heterosexual, homosexual, I mean, but it also means like sodomy and all this other stuff that goes on with it. So it's weird that like she's been taught to bring that up to people, and I don't know if she is like, oh, you're an old person, so I didn't think anything of the fact that that a girl wanted to skateboard. I asked her if she did tricks, if she had a trick skateboard, because she had a longboard, and she said no, she just likes driving around the longboard. I said I used to have a longboard, but I didn't like how bumpy it was, and I asked her about how if the wheels have to break in, or what the strategy is, and this, that, and the other thing. But it's so fixated, like, you can be a woman or a girl, a female, and you can wear a hat backwards, and you can skateboard. I don't understand why your hobbies or what you like to do becomes a sexuality. It's so strange to me. It's like people are individuals and they're going to do individual things that they enjoy. It's similar to what I was saying about life. And now I feel, I'm going to say feel, but it's a thought process that I went through. But I'm going to say feel because I'm not a young person today, so I don't exactly know the situation that they're in. But it's so strange to me, especially because when you listen to the narrative and the talk, they're saying gender is fluid. Okay, so if gender is fluid, which let's say that I give you that gender is fluid, then that means it could change. So the fact that they're trying to get you what pronouns, this, that, and the other thing are you, just who are you as an individual? Know thyself. And then the surgery thing is even crazier, because if gender is fluid and you have to figure it out, and they put so much pressure on it, and then when they put the pressure on it, there's irreversible surgeries to take that have long-term effects on you. Who knows if you're going to want to change again? So life is fluid. Life is spectral. I don't think that people should be telling young girls that they, if you see a young girl and she's riding a skateboard with a hat on backwards and baggy jeans and all this stuff, the same way that you shouldn't discourage her from that is the same way you shouldn't say, okay, well, now that you skateboard, you have to do this for the rest of your life. You can never change. You always have to skateboard. We have to surgically sew skateboards onto your feet so you can skateboard around now. It's permanent. You picked a hobby. This is it. So the fact that it's pushed in one direction so hard, and then that you can't change. So I didn't talk to this girl any much more than that. I was walking back to where I had parked my car a couple miles away for some exercise, and she was skateboarding, sort of, and then kind of walking within talking. But your whole life, your friends, your family, yourself, your personal evolution, you're changing. As humans, you're not even fully developed until you're 26. Your brain, your body, everything goes through so much. In 26 years, a quarter of a century, more than a quarter of a century of change. And anybody that tells you they have it figured out, they have the solution for you, is just, they're selling you snake oil. Because you're going to go your own route, your own path. You're going to have your own journey. You're going to have people that you love, people that hurt you, people that you hurt, arguments, disasters and traumas, good jobs, bad jobs. You're going to cry, you're going to laugh, you're going to make friends, you're going to lose friends. It's a wild and fun ride. It's so strange to me. I see the world as very organized through the world of logic and science, very structured. But it's so strange to me that they push that the world is chaotic, that there's 100 different genders, and that they're fluid and interchangeable. But the second they can pin you down on one, they want you to change your whole life and stay that way and find that group. And heaven forbid you tell the group you want to change once you have. I see these poor people online, and I've gone through it myself. It's not exclusive to the LGBT community. So like as a libertarian, there's constant infighting, and I personally don't think it's necessarily a purity test, but there is core principle. So if you're gonna speak about something with a core principle, then you have to speak on the core principle. It's ridiculous when you outwardly say stuff that aren't about the core principles. But this happens in all movements. Like, I used to try to hang out with vegan people, and I couldn't even be myself, because the second they find out that I'm not, a card-carrying socialist, they don't want to talk to you anymore, or they get angry, or they think you're violent or a Nazi or whatever. And then vice versa, if you hang out with, not all of them, this is just in generalization. I have some good friends that are supportive of me as an individual. But I've literally met women, had a great time with them, this, that, and other thing, and then we didn't have a dinner date for the first time we hang out or whatever. So we go out to eat, and I get something vegan, and they're like, you don't eat meat? They're like, no, and it's like deal breaker for them. We get along fine, we have great personalities and everything, and they're, and it's fine. I don't, honestly, long term, I'm not looking to argue with somebody about what you eat. I would prefer to date somebody that shouldn't say that, that's pro-liberty and that is vegan. But most of the time, I find individuals that fake being vegan to fall under my frame, and then as soon as one hiccup happens in the relationship, because they're just changing to be in the relationship, everything falls apart, and they're out eating dairy and meat at the restaurant because it was all a big charade. And I'm not crying about it. The reason I'm saying this is because people do stuff to fit in all the time, and they don't necessarily know that they're doing it to fit in time. They have a life that they want to be happy with too, and they're trying to figure it out. And we're all intertwined and working together. And the amount of pressure you put on yourself when you think you have to be one way and that one way forever, and then you build up your whole community around it, I can see why people are getting so stressed. And then if you make one mistake, say one thing, miss one little beat of, this collective mindset that you're supposed to be in, the whole thing comes crumbling down. What could I give you for some ending advice here? What's worked best for me is I would sit down. If you're better at talking, maybe make videos for yourself. If you're better at writing, maybe write it down, make lists. But I would kind of write down who you really are, whether it's a journal or a video or whatever. Just take some time. Forget all the bullshit. You don't have to share this with anybody. It's just going to be for you. Really figure out who you are. See if you can ignore the propaganda. And then figure out really what you want to do. Because I'll tell you what, you're going to spend, once you live your life in a lie for long enough, it's going to drive you to anxiety and depression. And it's going to come to get you sooner or later. Reality always comes. So you're better off figuring out who you are now, being who you are now, instead of chasing things. They'll start coming to you. I don't know why it works. It seems like magic. I know it's not magic. I got an idea of why it works, but I'll give you an example. I reached out to some people online, and immediately some people would make excuses. So like somebody approached me about a year ago, grabbed my phone number, my information. We started talking, and then I said, "Oh, we should do this," and they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, perfect. Let's do it. This, that, and the other." "Oh, I'll have to get back to you," and then they never get back to you. So then I was like, "Oh, we said we're gonna do this," and they're like, "Oh, yeah," and then we didn't, and then I was like, "What am I doing?" So then I asked another person, "You want to do this?" And they don't answer. And the answer is an answer. The non-answer is an answer. Because I've also reached out to some people that I don't know that well, that I met on my road trip when I went across country, and I messaged them and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna be, in this place on X," and they're like, "Yeah, when?" And we immediately made plans, just like that. Or they get back to you and they're like, "Oh, that's an awesome idea. Yes, I would love to do that." Strangers, people that I've talked to in passing. And that's kind of how you know where you're supposed to be. Is that you want to make a plan and they immediately make a plan. There's no blowing it off. And you don't have to then worry about the what ifs or whatever, trying to do better. Similar to like job and gender and groups and all this stuff. If you have to sit down and they have to talk to you about it and go through this stuff, it's not you. It's a pressure move. You already know who you are. The difficulty is ignoring somebody telling you who you aren't. Because sometimes you're just a little tidbit because you're like, you know what? Like I'm bored today, or I'm lonely, or I'm having difficulty making friends, or I'm having difficulty making a job. So I'm gonna concede and do something I kind of don't want to do, to go hang out with this person that I'm not sure that I even like. And then you guys don't get along, and the reason you don't get along is because you're lying to set the situation up. Whereas I really like comedy, and so I'll message comedians, and I'm sure they get hundreds of messages. Maybe some do, maybe some don't. Some of them ignore you, some of them get back once in a while. And I've asked them to do stuff. And I talked to them, and I've called them and talked to some of them on the phone afterwards, and I've made plans with some of them, because they're just people. Some people think it's weird, and it's fine. They're just people. Or they think it's creepy. That's fine. You can think I'm a creep. I don't give a fuck. And other people are like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know that city. And I do just sit in the hotel room. So I've met up with a couple of comedians at Boston when they were there for a couple of days. And I just said, hey, I love your comedy. I'm coming to one of the shows. I'm familiar with the area. You want to hang out, get a coffee, walk around the city? And some of them are like, no. Or they just ignore you, or no thanks. And others are like, yes, thank you so much. I get stuck in the room. So people are different. It's not you. It's you and them. And life is going to be like that. Jobs are going to be like that. But not only that, depending on your mood today, just because you're tired, or just because you don't feel like dressing up, or just because you don't feel like, I don't know, maybe sometimes you like to wear makeup and other times you don't. Or maybe you're like, you know what, I don't even like makeup. I wear makeup because I was told to. So then don't wear makeup. But then some people are like, oh, you don't like to wear makeup? Well, then you must be a boy. Or you must be non-binary. No, you don't have to like to wear makeup. There's plenty of attractive, beautiful, feminine women that don't like to wear makeup. And can men wear makeup? I suppose they could. But if you're wearing makeup as a man, have at it. Everybody can do whatever they want. That's not the issue. The issue is when it's being pushed on people and then celebrated. So this is the dopamine hit that they're experimenting on. So basically, they go, boo, boo, you stink, boo, and then you walk around your whole life getting booed, getting injected with cortisol and no dopamine, no serotonin. And then you do something that appeases the mob, and the mob's like, yeah, and you get a dopamine hit, and you're like, oh, if I do that, I get a dopamine hit. But the problem is, you spend your whole life getting your dopamine hits from an external force and not from pursuing personal individual goals and strategies and techniques and activities and hobbies that you enjoy. I can tell you right now, when you're living your everyday life, you should just be yourself. I know that's stupid. But I mean that in the manner like, it doesn't matter your political view, it doesn't matter your height. Your weight kind of matters because it's an indication of your ability to regulate your health, your exercise, your food capacity, and it's most likely an underlying issue, health issue. I would say probably a childhood trauma, but nonetheless, the things that they're putting huge weights on, people don't care about. Like that young girl, I don't know, I'm gonna hypothesize here, but like the fact that it came up so quickly when I was just like, hey, do you do tricks, or you only have a longboard? We're standing right next to each other eating ice cream. You know what I mean? So like, I like to recognize humans exist rather than ignore them when I'm out. And one of the first things what she says to me is, she tells me her non-binary status, which is like, I don't know if it's supposed to be rebellious now, like if I'm a punk rocker, like if I would have said that when I was a kid to some old man, or if it's so ingrained that she's embarrassed, like she's been taught like it's embarrassing for a girl to ride a skateboard, so I need to bring up this, because then if I say, well, I'm non-binary, then it's like, oh, well, it's not embarrassing for a non-binary to put a hat on backwards. And I don't know, it's so strange to me. It's the last thing that I need to know. And people are like, why do you keep bringing this stuff up? And it's like, it comes to you. The frigging, everywhere you go, all the storefronts got sodomy flags in them. Anyways, I'm never posting this. Just ranting and practicing on my way home.